Welcome to those of you that are joining us live, and for those of you that are watching the recording, also welcome. My name is Nicole Ryle, and I'm the Director of Development and Public Programs here at CIHS. And CIHS Enlighten is our public programs division, where we are starting to expand our certificate offerings, as well as public programs and continuing education. And today's webinar is a really exciting launch of our collaboration with TheCIINDE. Yes, so we will dive in just a few moments, but just a little bit about TheCIINDE. TheCIINDE stands for the Canadian Institute of Integrative Nursing Development and Education. And we're so excited to announce our collaboration with them because, like I said, CIHS Enlighten is expanding our certificate programs. And at TheCIINDE, they are offering this very dynamic, holistic nursing certificate and coaching program. They provide educational opportunities for nurses and other allied healthcare professionals who are ready for a mind shift and who know their way of being and approach to client care is changing and expanding. And they foster a safe and brave community where their students can explore, challenge, and elevate their vision for the future. TheCIINDE is the first and only international school that offers a combined program in holistic nursing and coaching, which is accredited by the American Nurses Credentialing Center and the Canadian Nurses Credentialing Nursing Association. And they offer a variety of courses suitable for anyone interested in enhancing their health and well-being, such as spirituality, to more intensive courses for healthcare professionals, such as business development. So we will dive in and meet all of the members of TheCIINDE in just a moment. And then we also have here with us today CIHS Board of Trustee member Anne-Marie Cushing. We are so grateful to have her as a part of CIHS. For over 25 years, Anne-Marie has been an international and national integrative behavior and contemplative science health educator, advisor, and advocate, consulting for hospitals, clinics, foundations, medical spas, life sciences, and education, as well as wellness centers throughout the world, really. So we're so happy to have Anne-Marie with us today. It's a really great collaboration for all of us to be excited about. We've all been a part of the wellness community for a long time, and Anne-Marie has also been the chairwoman and co-chair on the board of directors at the New York Open Center, as well as program facilitator for teacher-student mentorship at the Sound and Music Institute program at the Open Center. So we are really blessed to have Anne-Marie, and she is going to do a little interview after TheCIINDE gives us a little presentation on their program and a little bit of background about what they do. So again, please accept all of our warm welcome to you this morning, or whatever time zone we happen to be in this afternoon, I should say. And I'll turn it over to TheCIINDE, and they have a presentation. And like I said, after that, Anne-Marie will have some interview time with them. And then after that, we will have time for Q&A at the end, or kind of in between or towards the end of the program. So if you have questions throughout, please save them or jot them down. And then right about in an hour or so, if you have questions, you can type them into the Q&A box, or you can raise your hand and you can speak your question. Okay, so without further delay, I will turn it over to TheCIINDE. Welcome.
Thank you. So thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. We're really excited to be here and to be sharing a little bit more about who we are as individuals and also as TheCIINDE. So as you mentioned, that we are here today as the Canadian Institute of Integrative Nursing Development and Education. So we also refer to that our institute as TheCIINDE. So we're really excited to be here and talk about why we're so passionate about reviving the heart of nursing and what we have to offer in terms of our program that we're going to be talking about today. So when we talk about TheCIINDE, we have to talk about the co-founders. I'm so grateful to be one of the co-founders. I'm Kim Durkach. of TheCIINDE and to be doing this with our other co-founder, Janessa DeCoste, and our founder, Sherry Hole. So you can both maybe give a wave, Sherry and Janessa, and say hello. So we're so excited to honestly just be here with you today and to share our mission, our vision, and our passions with you. So on another note too, we want to talk about how TheCIINDE came to be. So this is a longer story, but in terms of just kind of keeping it short, we really feel that honestly that there was a seed planted in our hearts. We knew that there was a different way of knowing, of doing and being as individuals and as nurses. So us together, Sherry, Janessa, and myself, we feel that we were drawn together as if by divine design. It felt like a soul calling, and we've met years ago and started kind of working towards this mission and vision of being in this holistic aspect of self. And really all of us have a personal story and reason for being here, and where we are today and what we've created this far. And there's a little bit more detail about each of our individual story on our website, which we can provide later, but we just want you to know that we all have a personal story as to what brought us here. And it really allows us to be passionate about providing support and tools needed for nurses individually to show up for themselves with resiliency, with awareness, with compassion, knowing that caring starts with themselves first. And we know that this is a much needed shift that had to occur from simply a state of doing and surviving to one of flourishing and thriving. So we wanted to go from that place of surviving to really thriving as individuals and as nurses.
Okay, thank you, Kim. And just to speak a little bit about our mission and vision here at TheCIINDE. So we consider ourselves an innovative organization that's dedicated to improving whole health and well-being for both nurses and their clients. So we know that, this patient safety is always of utmost importance, and that's something that was one of the first things that we all learn when we're in nursing school or doing our training. But one thing that we don't learn, or the piece of the puzzle that was missing, is that safety for ourselves as nurses. And we're seeing the repercussions of that today. So, it's about turning that compassion and caring, self-love and forgiveness and whatnot that we have for others, turning that inward and nurturing ourselves along the way. So, part of our mission is to really focus on the nurse as well as the client, because we know without healthy nurses, we don't have healthy clients, right? So our mission is to promote and advocate for a holistic care approach that integrates Eastern and Western or traditional philosophies, beginning first and foremost with the health and well-being of the nurse. Our vision is to facilitate and advocate for the advancement of holism and healing in both nurses and nursing practice. So again, focusing there first and foremost on the nurse. And we believe that nurses, especially those with advanced skills in holistic nursing and nurse coaching, can be real key influencers in preventing disease, promoting optimal health and well-being, and in guiding others in bringing and sustaining positive change in their lives. So it really is about, we're in a model now where we're supposed to be looking at health promotion and disease prevention. So we know that we'll always have that need for nurses and ill care, but we believe that we really need to look at the value and the skills that nurses have to add to health promotion in itself. Okay, next slide, Kim.
So this is really where, where we want to share what we have to offer at TheCIINDE. So what began as a program has flourished into having many, many students. And so this is how TheCIINDE came to be as well. We had this passion to bring this program of holistic nursing and nurse coaching to fruition. And this is what we're really excited to be sharing with you today. So we know that we believe that nurses with advanced skills in holistic nursing and nurse coaching can be key influencers in well care. So that's in preventing disease and promoting optimal health and well-being. So we know and believe that all individuals deserve care that respects and honors their needs and choices, while acknowledging the role of the environment, culture, social connection, and the intricate connection between the mind, body, and spirit, and the healing process. And so we know that this is all grounded in evidence-informed and evidence-based research and practice as well. So we're really excited to be launching our 6th cohort of students this spring. And so this will be our iteration of the comprehensive holistic nurse coach, and consultant certificate program. So this program is available to registered nurses and nurse practitioners. So, and we are accredited by the Canadian Nurses Association, the American Nurses Credentialing Center, and we are also endorsed by the Canadian Holistic Nurses Association and the Watson Caring Institute. So we're really excited to be talking about this a little bit more today and sharing a little bit more about what holistic nursing is and what nurse coaching is, and answering any questions that you may have about what holistic nursing and nurse coaching looks like.
Absolutely. And just to kind of to tie into this as well, so this will be the first time that we're offering the program with the consultant element added on to that. So that's something that we're very excited to bring to everyone, because we really have seen nurses go through the program and wanting to combine both the coaching element and the consulting piece. So we're really hoping to bring that to the forefront so people truly understand and can really evolve with our title as the program evolves with us. So when you go through the program, we just wanted to share, this is essentially the certificate that you would get that speaks to all of the accreditations that we have worked really hard to be able to bring to our students. We do think it's really powerful that we have the Canadian Nurses Association, which is essentially similar to the American Nurses Association here in the US, but you know, they've gone through the program, they've looked at everything, they've ensured that, you know, it is evidence-based, and they've done that peer review process. We also have the ANCC accreditation, which we spoke about as well, so that, you know, brings the program into a different light. It allows you to go and sit for those board certification exams, like the holistic nursing exam or the holistic nurse coaching exams. So just a very important thing to be able to distinguish why this program is so powerful for nurses, and why we really feel that, you know, nurses to be able to bring this into their practice, whether they're at the bedside or they're venturing out into their own independent practices, is really important to us, and really important to be able to bring and share. I don't know if Kim or Sherry, you had anything you want to share about this slide as well.
I think this might just be a good time to maybe touch on what holistic nursing is and what holistic nurse coaching is. So we really just we often get asked when we're, you know, if you might be new to understanding what holistic nursing is, what nurse coaching is, and what a holistic nurse coach is. So we might sometimes be asked, where can, you know, holistic nurses work? What does that look like? So holistic nurses can work in a variety of settings, and they perform all of the typical treatments or tasks that you would provide in your regular role. However, they take additional training, such as, you know, through a course or institute like this, where they then learn unique and additional assessment skills and take additional steps to guide their patients on their healing journey. So we really dive into what healing and curing looks like, how to be with our clients in those moments. And oftentimes students end up on their own transformational journey as well. So we really feel that holistic nursing complements the biomedical model. It recognizes, as we've kind of discussed, the interconnection between the mind, body, and spirit, and also the internal and external environment that we are surrounded in. And we're really looking at that whole care. And it's a byproduct of that complementary role that exists between the science and the art, and the nurse who holds space and acts as an instrument of healing with others vicariously, and ends up benefiting everyone, and the nurse and the clients through this process. So it's really a way of being. The nurse, the holistic nurse, ends up in that way of being instead of a way of doing, and is often a role model in the way that they live their life. So holistic nurses often subscribe to a practice of deep introspection that comes with a new level of resilience, of self-awareness, and self-compassion. So that can also lead to self-care practices, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a few slides. But that's really at the forefront of what holistic nursing, you know, a little description of it. Of course, we could have many other, you know, discussions around that too, but maybe we can also speak to nurse coaching.
Absolutely. So nurse coaching, you know, nurse coaching is one of those things that we have lots of questions arise from, and we have lots of people asking us, well, what is the difference between a nurse coach and, you know, a health coach or a wellness coach or a life coach or any of the other millions of other coaches that do exist out there right now. And I think one of the crowning features of that is the fact that, you know, we are trained professionals, and we have a wealth of knowledge, and we have a very you know, intense education, and we have an intense background that really does focus on all of the different modalities that we're bringing into our practices. We're able to really connect with the clients one-on-one, or maybe it's a group setting, whatever that looks like. But the nurse coach is first and foremost a nurse. So we really think it's really important to bring that to the table. It took us a little while to really, you know, articulate and figure out, what do we mean as a nurse coach? And for us, nurse coaching is truly one of those complementary therapies that you would learn. So you're getting extra certification around being a coach, learning coaching methodologies, learning things like motivational interviewing and appreciative inquiry, trauma-informed care, or cognitive behavioral therapy. And we're bringing that all into what it means to show up as a nurse coach and to bring those complementary modalities into your practice. So like I said, nurse coaching truly is about being a registered nurse or a nurse practitioner or whatever, you know, type of nurse training you've had, having that be your foundation and your baseline, and then bringing, you know, what you've learned and those coaching things like asking powerful questions and walking alongside your client and really meeting them where they're at as you help them, you know, progress through the journey of where they're hoping to go within the trajectory of their health and wellness. So nurse coaching truly is a powerful modality where we really do bring out the best in the client while walking alongside them and not trying to fix or not trying to you know, offer up all the advice on how they could potentially, you know, do things. We're really meeting them and figuring out, how can I work with you to make a change in your life? So that's kind of our definition of where we stand with nurse coaching.
Thank you,
I think one of the beautiful things I'll just add here before we move on with nurse coaching is that it really does focus very intently on empowerment of the client as well. So it's looking at healing and health from the client's perspective and how they define optimal health and well-being. And then the nurse coach works with them to you know, assist them in achieving that and sustaining that way. One thing that's really interesting that we often will chat about is how students will comment about how they've actually used the nurse coaching skills. So that use of empowering questions on themselves. They'll often find that when they're, you know, up against a challenge or something like that, they'll actually coach themselves. So it's really quite a transformative process. You know, the whole process of becoming and embodying what a holistic nurse and nurse coach means.
Thank you, Sherry.
So just to go back for a few seconds here. So we have mentioned our accreditations, and we do think that this is very important to bring up again and just share a little bit more with you. So the CIIHSD was granted accreditation for nursing continuing professional development in November of 2021 with the American Nurses Credentialing Center. And this accreditation really demonstrates our commitment as an innovative organization to using evidence-based criteria when developing high-quality educational initiatives that promote the professional growth of nurses. So when we go through these processes and when we create these programs, we're really doing a really deep dive into the evidence out there, into the current research that exists. And we're really making sure that what we're bringing is, you know, up to date, it's current, and it really is providing those really high quality educational initiatives like we've mentioned here. We are currently in the process for reaccreditation, which is really exciting. So it's always nice to continuously go through those processes where we, you know, we're constantly looking at what we're doing and how we can make things better and how we can make things shift and evolve, which is one of the reasons why even our program title and the name of the program has evolved over time. So having these accreditations under our belt is something that we truly, you know, it is a lot of work and it's a lot to take on, but at the end of the day, it really shows that we are advancing nursing practice and we're advancing holistic nursing and nurse coaching. And we're trying to show people that this is how we're doing it. We're showing you how you can, you know, work this into what you're already doing. And then the other accreditation that we wanted to touch base on is the Canadian Nurses Association accreditation that we have in place. So we received our reaccreditation just this past January. So once again, we went through a really rigorous process and had this Canadian Nurses Association go through the program and make sure that, you know, what we're doing is, you know, evidence-based and at a really high level for nurses. So at the CIIHSD, we have been advocating on behalf of our students, diligently reaching out to the regulatory bodies all across Canada and making sure that they know what we're up to and they know what we're doing and they know what nurse coaching is and how holistic nursing can be woven into your practice. So it's really a huge piece on advocacy and a huge piece on just sharing, you know, a reimagined way of nursing. So it's really exciting to us. And it's something that we hold near and dear to our hearts. I might just skip ahead for 1 second and just do this slide first before we do our testimonials. So we do have some collaborative partnerships as well that Kim had mentioned a few moments ago when she was talking about the comprehensive program and the CIIHSD in general. So we are endorsed by Gene Watson Caring Science Institute. So that is something that we had followed. We talk about the CIHS processes within the program. It's something that's woven into our syllabus. It's woven into each class. And it's something that we truly feel is a foundational piece of our program as well. We also have the American Nurses Credentialing Center, so that should be ANCC, and we have that accreditation, which I just spoke to. We also have, we're endorsed by the Canadian Holistic Nurses Association, so they fall under the umbrella as well of the American Holistic Nurses Association. Then we have the Canadian Nurses Association, which we just talked about. Then we have CIHS, or the California Institute for Human Science. So that's our newest collaboration that we're really excited to move forward with. And then in addition to all that, we also have a little partnership with the Canadian Association of Self-Employed Registered Nurses here in Canada. So lots of partnerships and lots of collaborations and things that we're striving to bring to our community as a whole. I'll go back here now to our testimonials.
So this is just something we wanted to share from previous students that have taken our program. So Margaret Erickson wasn't one of our students, but she is a leader in the industry, and she just mentioned that the CIIHSD and the Institute provide excellent education on holistic nursing and health, which can help prepare students to sit for their holistic certification exam. So that is actually one of the really beautiful things about our program as well, is once you have taken it, you've received your certificate, you do have the opportunity to sit for 2 board certification exams. So you can sit for the Holistic Nursing Board Certification exam and the Nurse Coach board certification exam. So we're really excited and proud of that. That's definitely something we encourage our students to look at as well once they have received certification from us. There's a couple other testimonials from past students here. So one of our students, Meg from cohort 1, she said, it's been an honor to be part of the very first cohort and graduation class of the CIIHSD. The Comprehensive Holistic Nurse and Nurse Coach course is the premier program of its kind in Canada. Thank you for the incredible faculty, my colleagues, and now my friends that I made along the way. A love of learning is one of my strengths and self-care tools. So being 27 weeks pregnant to having a 9-week-old infant during this process was actually quite perfect. It's pushed me to grow in ways I needed, and I feel growth in all of my family members. Here's to the future of nursing, holistic nurses in Canada, and nurse coaching. So again, I think this is just beautiful and shows the example that so many connections and community is really made along the way. So not only are people making transformation in their own life, they're seeing this as a self-care agent within their family. They're seeing those shifts, and then they're also making connections within the program with like-minded and like-hearted individuals, nurses within the profession. And we see those connections continuing past the program end date. So it's really nice to see our graduates continuing to connect with people who are in their cohort and making connections with even people that weren't in their cohort who have been through the program. So again, it's about connection and community. And then Angela Wilkins, who is in our second cohort, she said, I absolutely can't say enough about the program and would love to share with the world what I've learned. I would love to share my experience with future students if it means more nurses and nurse coaches and more clients have access to holistic care. Thanks so much for the feedback throughout. And it was very encouraging that we took genuine time and care in learning about her experiences. So I felt that I have had the attentiveness and understanding of the kind faculty throughout this program, and it couldn't be more grateful. So again, with this one, we just wanted to share because we do love to keep everything intimate. We really get to make that community with our graduates. We know kind of, maybe the things that they might be moving through in their life. We have advisors. So Janessa, Sherry, and myself are lead instructors, and we have advisors that help support us, and they're absolutely wonderful. And they make those connections with our students, and they really help see them through the program and ensure that they are successful and that they have the tools and support. And so we really are proud of that. And that's something we're always striving for. And I love that she says that she wants to have everyone have more access to holistic care, because we really are seeing this come to the forefront. We're noticing that people are desiring this care, this type of care more, this holistic piece, and that holistic nurses can offer, and also the coaching aspect. So having these skills and this mindset and the ability to model this type of care and to be a leader in nursing in this way is really, I think, it's the perfect time. We need leaders, we need access to holistic care, we need access to nurse coaching, especially in that goal to have that wellness care, to have disease prevention and health promotion.
Is it okay? So just to further on with Kim, what Kim mentioned there about the advisors, and both of these testimonials and both of these previous students had mentioned that, they felt so supported by our advisors. And I mean, with cohort 1, it really was Kim, Sherry, and myself as the advisors. And as we've advanced and as we've moved on, we have pulled advisors onto the team who have actually gone through the program. So anyone who has come on board as an advisor or an instructor or has done anything with us, we really think that it's important that they have the foundation of our program under their belts so that they truly understand what it means to go through a program like this. So when they're there and they're walking alongside our students, they've been there, they've done these things, and they've lived it, and they've grown from, learning how to take care of themselves. And now they're, passing on their knowledge and wisdom too. So it's really just a beautiful, symbiotic relationship that we've been able to really bring together with our whole team.
And so one of the other things that we really feel like is important with our journey of advocacy and leadership as nurses in this role of bringing holistic nursing and nurse coaching to the forefront of the educational, institutes that we're offering continuing education is we do have collaborations, and we do have meetings with universities, because we really feel like it is imperative to begin integrating this way of being into our primary educational institutes. And this would include universities and public programs. So it's in order, this allows us to equip nurses with knowledge, information, resources, and the community necessary to prevent their own, disease, illness, or burnout that they may encounter when they get out into the workforce. Or maybe they are coming back for continuing education because, you know, they're looking for a new way of being, they're looking to mitigate some of these things. So we want to be able to provide resources, and we want to be able to, you know, help their career trajectory to be one that is positive, and uplifting. And again, going from that survival to thriving in their career and really flourishing and doing things that they love, because nursing is truly a calling of the spirit. And many of us feel like we're called. We have a desire to help. We have a desire to care and to nurture. And maybe we don't have the tools, or we weren't offered the tools in our educational institutes in the beginning of how to take care of ourselves and how to protect ourselves against some of the things that we might face when we are, you know, in our career setting. So we also really just want to focus and highlight on the importance of understanding our culture and values and beliefs, and the role that this plays in health and well-being of the whole person. So again, honoring really where, you know, we come from, and learning and unlearning, and really being open and coming to everything with a beginner's mind, knowing that we can always, you know, take something out of an experience, and we can learn together and grow together. So we always like to say, as we're offering this up in these collaborations, we're always coming with a beginner's mind. We love to learn from one another. And as we go through the program, as we start a cohort, everyone, Janessa, Sherry, and I, and all of our wonderful advisors, we go through the program with our students. So we go on that journey with them. We walk beside them, and we kind of, you know, have that beginner's mind. We're there to learn alongside them, because they have just as much wisdom to share with us as we do with them. So it's definitely very much a mutual experience.
Okay, so the change processes that students go through or nurses go through. So as holistic nurse coaches, we are really all about embracing change. So we don't need to wait for the healthcare system to crumble before we act. We're taking action now. Unfortunately, that statement now might be a little bit out of date, as we are actually seeing the healthcare system crumble around us. But it certainly doesn't mean that we can't take action. And certainly, you know, this really is a driving force for us to do so. So as a society, we're catapulted into change in so many areas, so especially within the healthcare system. And we honestly feel that we need to look at healthcare locally, but also globally. So, you know, we often include the perspective of global health and what we can do, you know, to look at the health of our planet as well. So we see our current healthcare system is suffering, and we don't want history to repeat itself. This is really at the core of what it is that we're offering, and we often have discussions about this, you know, going back to, you know, the earlier writings and earlier work of Florence Nightingale, and how it's coming, you know, kind of full circle now, and we're going back to our roots, and people are actually, you know, looking for ways that they can look after themselves better, ways that they can be more empowered, take charge of their health, and certainly in ways that they can do that more holistically. So self-care approaches, self-empowerment approaches, these are all included very intensely in our program. And we start off actually with a self-care reflection or reflective manual that we have students begin with and work through the program, you know, building on this and building on a self-care tool for themselves. So we've infused self-care into everything that we do, from growing our institute to educating students. And it really is at the heart of what we do as holistic nurses. So as Kim mentioned earlier, you know, holistic nursing definitely is a new approach to client care, or an enhanced and somewhat different approach to client care, but it's also a way of being for the nurse herself or himself. So it's at the heart of what we do as nurses, like many of our nursing colleagues who have were brought into the martyrdom of nursing. We've continued to pour from empty cups, and we've given of ourselves until we burn out, and many are ready to leave the profession. I remember when I was actually on a trip this was about 10 years ago now, and it was to California. And I met a mother and daughter team who were both nurses, and the daughter had been nursing for 3 years. And I was excited to meet a fellow nurse. But as we got discussing her work and her career, she ended up crying. And this was 3 years in. And she said, honestly, Sherry, I don't think I'm going to stay in nursing. And this was 10 years ago. At the time, there were a lot of nurses that were leaving within 5 years of the profession, of starting their profession or their career in nursing. And now I believe that's down to like within 3 years. And we're also having discussions with people who are instructors from, I believe one was a university in BC, who was saying that, you know, there's students in the 3rd year of the program now that are questioning whether they want to stay or not, because nursing is not what they envision that it would be. So I bring that up because we are talking about pouring from an empty cup, and how, you know, nursing tends to attract individuals that really have a lot of empathy and compassion and want to care for others in their life. So they do tend to overgive. And I can use myself as an example. I overgave in nursing. I've overgiven in my friendships and in my family life. And not that I would ever change any care that I did give or any compassion that I had for anyone, but what I would change is how I also care for myself, because that wasn't important to me. It was never instilled in me that that was an important thing to consider. So, and then if I did, I felt selfish, because that was, you know, kind of the way of looking at it then is, you know, if you're worried about yourself, then that's kind of selfish. You should be really caring for other people. So I really love, you know, this approach, and the approach that shows that caring for ourselves is, it shows accountability. And one thing that I like to say too is that when we do engage in these self-care practices, we're not just doing it so that we can better care for other people. Yes, that's vicariously going to happen, but we're doing it because we matter too. So we honestly believe that investing in you as an individual is the single most important investment that you can make. And I think, you know, we've highlighted a couple of testimonials. If you go onto our website and read more, you'll see that that message comes through very clearly with our students in the program. So we believe that achieving balance and optimal self-care requires deep personal work. And we've created a company policy that follows our 6 steps to investing in you as a guide for students and faculty. So this is kind of a self-care approach that we've come up with that we share. And it's about, starts, I guess, with self-awareness, right? Really starting out getting to know who you are, because often we might think we know ourselves, but when we get into using those empowering coaching questions and really dig deep, how much do we really know about ourselves? You know, how much do we really know about why we might react the way we do in certain situations, or, you know, for example. So definitely something that we really stress and highlight within our program.
So thank you for that, Sherry. That was such a great, I think, just like summary of what we've been experiencing. And I know even for myself, I've now been hearing, I think I was reading the other day that some individuals are even looking at leaving the profession of nursing within 6 months after coming out, as kind of the article I was reading here the other day, which is absolutely devastating, you know, because it is a challenging climate. And I think there's so much that we can do to support nurses. And it is a complex, you know, approach. And I really believe that this is one of the ways that we can support nurses, is by having them, you know, really be able to have access to these tools and these understandings. So, and it's starting the conversation, it's spreading that awareness, and, you know, finding ways to reach nurses to show them that they're not alone, and that there's resources and tools that can support them along the way. So that's definitely something we're really passionate about sharing. So we want to thank everyone for being here and for taking the time. We know your time is precious to listen to our message and what we're really passionate about. And we are really hopeful that it was helpful. And for you, if you are a nurse, or maybe you know a nurse that could benefit from this information. And we're really, if you have questions, please put them in the chat. Of course, you can email us to connect with us if you're not here live. But yeah, we'd love to hear your questions as well.
I'd like to just add one more thing about the self-care piece before we get into questions and answers. When you mention self-care, immediately there can be resistance, right? It's like, oh my goodness, how am I going to fit that into my already busy and overwhelming day? So the approach that we use within our program is to show ways that you can include self-care approaches to every minute of your day. Right, so it's in the way that we're breathing. It's our internal environment. What is our internal dialogue like? What is our posture like? Are there, we explore so many different tools that you just embody as a way of caring for yourself.
That's so
beautiful. Because we get it. We don't have all those extra hours in the day either.
So true. And I know oftentimes, like, it's that word, right, Sherry? The word self-care, it's overused. And, like what we're trying to share with the program too, a lot of times is we're going to use the blanket term, but then we're going to teach you how to really unpack it and make it be that intuitive care that that's so vital and so important that we re-tap into. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, thank you, Janessa.
Thank you guys so much. And just to echo that, that's part of the reason that this collaboration is so special, is because at CIHS, we are a mind, body, spirit institution, and really self-care in all of those areas. I mean, you could kind of define self-care as paying attention to all of your parts, right? Your mind, your body, your consciousness, your spirit. And a lot of our coursework and a lot of our public programs are focused around this central mission of addressing the entire person through the lens of coming to know yourself better, like you mentioned, Sherry, right? And so all of these practices really lead up to the support of the whole person. So I think that this collaboration just fits perfectly with CIHS, and we are so excited to support your program and all of you, as well as all of your students. Thank you.
We're excited to be here with you. To see what the future holds. So
great. Well, great. And I think now Anne-Marie might have a few questions for you guys, and we'll go ahead and dive into those. And then maybe we'll have about 20 minutes of Anne-Marie asking Sherry and Janessa and Kim questions. And then in the audience, if any participants have questions at that point, maybe in about 20 minutes, we'll open up the Q&A, okay? So,
wonderful. Well, thank you, Sherry and Janessa. Kim, that was a marvelous presentation. You actually answered most of the questions that I was going to ask, but I do want to thank all of you for this, for really listening to the tempo or the movement of what's happening in our world today. And I say the world and not just locally, between the countries of North America. We, certainly went through so much during the pandemic, and I certainly lived in New York at that time. And the people at the forefront were the healthcare professionals. So people got to learn and know more about what was happening. And if we lose them, we lose everything in our lives, So listening to this, to what people's stresses and strains and difficulties were, and jumping on it and taking it as a real personal endeavor to say, hey, we can make a difference and we can turn this around. We don't have to leave our profession, is everything. So thank you very much for all your dedication and work. But you've actually answered many questions. You already spoke about the origin the kind, and certainly you talked about some of the transformations of the nurses, when what they're experiencing after when they complete the course, this comprehensive holistic nurse course. But you also, I'm not sure, did you also talk about the comprehensive holistic program and whether that includes just nurses and whether it includes, independent or private practice of individuals as well?
I can speak to that. So in Canada, we offer the course to registered nurses, nurse practitioners, registered psychiatric nurses, anyone that is a registered nurse, but we also offer it to licensed practical nurses and registered practical nurses. I know through CIHS, we're at this time anyway, limiting it to registered nurses and nurse practitioners, just simply because we're not that familiar with the landscape of licensed practical nursing within the US at this point. We do know that here in Canada, their scope is definitely expanding exponentially, and they are now administering medications, starting IVs and that sort of thing within the hospital setting. So they're doing a lot of bedside nursing and bedside care. So we feel that, where they're so closely connected with patients and are, picking up a lot of those extra shifts and stuff like that, that it's important to include them as well. And what was the last part of your question again, Anne-Marie?
Well, yeah, I wanted to know in terms of what status of the nurse,
Right.
That this would best be a course for,
Right.
and what availability is it for, people of independent or private practice?
Yes, yeah. So really the skills that they learn within this program can be used in any area of nursing. So we do have a lot of graduates that are taking it back and using it to enhance their own practice and to nurture themselves along the way. So to help, build their resiliency and incorporate self-care tools into their practice so that they don't become one of, the nurses that feels like leaving the profession, or they may already feel like it, but they don't want to. So it's like they want to learn how they can better show up at work and hopefully be able to stay within the profession.
Right.
We've actually had a news announcement released today in Canada about one of our graduates who was just hired as a full-time parish nurse within the United Church of Canada. And that's based on her holistic background and the fact that she took our program. So there's that, we have other students that are working, or graduates that are working in wellness clinics, and we have several that have started their own independent practice. So it really is varied.
Right. And what does it, how are the nurses using it in the hospitals and community settings?
So in the hospital, they're using it, like I said, for themselves, right? So it might be how they're showing up, how they're starting their day before they get to work, right? So to get in that place of where they're aware, they're mindful throughout the day, they're watching how they're breathing and that sort of thing. So, but I won't get into too much about that because we've already talked about that. But when it comes to patient care, so it can be in the way that they discourse with clients, right? So when they're getting ready to discharge a client and really looking at, what they're looking at when they get home, what are some of the things that they may be struggling with, and really being able to take a deep dive with them using empowering questions. Often I think back to my own experience in nursing, often when clients are what is called non-compliant, and I tend to stay away from that term, but we do see it in the charts. So you might have a client that's having a lot of pain and they're being recorded as being non-compliant. They're not, they're refusing to get up and walk, that sort of thing. So if you can take that time to really use some empowering questions, you might be able to find out that the reason that client's not getting up and walking is actually because they have this awful fear of going home and being alone. Right. And we don't necessarily know that that's what they're facing when they get home. They may not even know themselves that that's what's causing them to resist getting up and moving. Some other really unique ways that it's being used is implementing guided meditation or visualization, especially if someone is having pain or someone is going in for surgery. So we have one graduate that's an OR nurse, and she's used a lot of this to help decrease anxiety for clients that are going into surgery, and it's working like a charm. It's just, yeah, it's really wonderful. I don't want to take all the all the space, because I'm sure Kim and Janessa may have something to share there as well.
Kim, Janessa?
I think you really were able to share there, Sherry, just about some of the things that we're seeing happen. So when we talk about like bringing things into your practice, it could be as simple as, like Sherry said, those powerful questions, or like meeting your clients where you're at and just kind of like going that route and walking alongside. And then at the opposite end of the spectrum, there's lots of nurses who decide that they do want to start that independent practice and they do want to take those skills out. And we see them doing a hybrid of, you know, staying in that job that is still within an institution, or staying within that job and kind of augmenting or complementing, saying like, you know, I'm still working in this system, but I'm also trying to bring this into it. So it's like that complementary. It's like just the complementarity of it all. So I think I just made that word up.
Yeah. One of our advisors often shares, she works in, I don't know if she's working there now, but she was working in, oh my goodness, with caregivers. So she was working within an office for the most part. And she said that often she would just feel like the air was just so heavy and everyone was kind of trudging through the day. And she would just stand up and she'd say, okay, everybody, let's just take a pause. Like, you know, let's stand up, we'll take a breath together, let's shake off some of this energy. And, you know, maybe they would sing or something for a moment. But she said it would just lighten the atmosphere so much. And after she did this for a while, there was a lot more laughter, a lot more at ease within the office. And yes, I mean, it's just, it really doesn't take a lot. You know, it's a different approach and a different mindset.
Yeah. So can you tell us, though, give us sort of an insight as to what's the difference between the coaching and the consulting and the counseling?
You want this one, Janessa?
Sure. So, it's a question that we do, we spend a considerable amount of time on. So, you know, there is the coaching, there is the consulting, and there is the counseling. And, you know, what we're here to teach, or to like share and educate the nurses on is, you know, what does it look like to come in and to be a nurse coach? So within that model, we really do spend a lot of time focusing on like, okay, what are the different things that you do as a nurse coach? How does a nurse coach actually help? And a lot of that is, you know, meeting the client where they're at and walking alongside of them and helping them uncover what, you know, things like Sherry just mentioned. It may be something that they don't even realize it's there, and they just need someone to ask the questions and to hold the space and to really allow for, you know, what they have to say. And a lot of times what happens is when we allow for that allowance and when we have that, we bring that presence to the table, it really does help them navigate their own journey, knowing that they have someone who they can, you know, bounce things off or like share things and, you know, question things. And it does help, you know, really open up what it means to be a coach. And then in terms of the consultant piece, this is something that we saw that nurses, Sherry is very famous in the program for saying, I'm just going to take off my nursing hat or my coaching hat and put on my consultant hat. So we really started to like lean into that and pull back out and be like, okay, what does that consulting piece look like? So when we really explored that consulting piece, we're like, okay, this is when you're actually bringing in some of the solutions for the clients. You're bringing things in, you're going to share with them. Here's something you can actually do. It's a tangible thing. I'm going to share this with you. You can bring this back to your client, or you can try this and see how it works. Whereas in the coaching model, we're often being like, okay, here's something that we're going to walk through together. But a lot of it is that contemplation, that deep connection, it just being there. Whereas that consultant piece is when you start to take a step back and be like, here's some solutions I think might be helpful. And knowing that, you know, not every solution, not everything is going to fix everything, but it's just a different way of showing up in those conversations. And then there's also that consulting piece. Like, a lot of our students want to do like larger programs for organizations, and they want to bring solutions, and they want to bring, you know, things that may help fix some of the problems we're seeing, like staffing, like, you know, nurses leaving the profession. So if we can bring them some solutions in like a group format, or bring that to managers and healthcare systems, that can really be another starting point for us to launch, and for them to really bring what is holistic nursing and how can nurse coaching help at the different levels. And then when we look at the counseling piece, that really comes into a lot of the things where, you know, we're not therapists. We're not here to go and take on that therapist model. Whereas, you know, there are certain things that nurses can do, and there's certain things within their scope of practice they can do. But we do always bring to the forefront that, you know, we're not here to be your therapist. We're not here to be this particular person. We're here to really bring in that coaching methodology to your practice. I don't know if Kim or Sherry has anything else they want to share.
Well, and the coaching piece too, when we look at the difference between coaching and the consulting, is the coaching piece, like Janessa said, is very focused on the client. So we know that if we go to the doctor and we're told, okay, you need to do this, you need to do A, B, C, in order, you know, to deal with this issue, a medical issue that you're dealing with. Very often clients go home and it's like, I don't know where to begin, or they're feeling blocked. They don't know how to get started. So it just falls to the wayside, right? Or they end up just taking medication, trying to deal with the symptoms of this situation. The beautiful thing about coaching is that it's empowering. So when, you know, for instance, Anne-Marie, if you realized something that was a strength in your life, or something that you had at your disposal that maybe you didn't realize before, and you had that aha moment, and you walked away from your appointment saying, wow, I figured that out myself. I know what I have in my court to work with. You're much more likely to adopt that behavior or make that change within your life. And it's much more likely that it'll be sustainable for you. And then the beautiful thing about the nurse coach is that it's not just a one-off, right? Especially in independent practice, nurse coaches generally work with packages, right? So they'll work for 3 months with a client or 6 months with a client. Which often will lead into a lifetime with a client. So they might do an intense session, you know, for 3 months, maybe meeting once a week or 3 times a month. And then they get to a place where they're like, all right, I think I got this. And you know what? I did it myself. Mm-hmm. All this nurse coach did was ask me questions, right? I figured this out. And then they're ready to go off on their own, but they know that when they might stumble and fall, or they might have a roadblock or something that's just really standing in their way, they can reach out to their nurse coach again and say, hey, look, I'd love to have a session with you. Maybe they even just need a little bit of encouragement to realize that, you know what, it's never smooth sailing for everybody, right? We all deal with things. So it's that ongoing support that's there as well. Mm-hmm. But the beautiful thing about a nurse being a coach is that when you look at the lay coach, which, you know, we have lifestyle coaches, we have wellness coaches, and they all do wonderful things. But when you look at that role of a coach, and then you bring the nurse into it, you're bringing that whole body of knowledge and experience and education along with it. So it really enhances that relationship. And that's where we found that, you know, even though coaching is a practice where you don't tend to educate your client because it's client focused and it's empowering for them, as a nurse, it's really hard. And we're almost doing a disservice to nursing by not sharing knowledge. So if, you know, I were meeting with you and, you know, we were looking at a situation in your life and something came up and I knew that, okay, for the safety of this client or for the betterment of their health, I really need to share this knowledge that I have because I am a nurse, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So I know we have limited time, and I know there are many people that will probably want to ask questions too, but I want to take the liberty of just asking two more to be sure that they're brought out to the audience, which are really, what you mentioned a little bit about it anyway in your descriptions, but about what the live classes look like and what the assignments, the time commitment per week, and how the coaching practice, hours work, and what kind of support do you receive, throughout the program, which you sort of eliminated here and there too. And then also, why is it important to explore a board certification as a holistic nurse, and or nurse, coach? Why are these things important? So maybe you might want to just give a whole sort of daily sort of experience, and then why it is important to get this certification.
So truly, typically what we do is we offer the program, and we have been offering it twice a year. So our next intake is in just over about 6 weeks from now. So we'll be starting April 3rd for our next cohort. So that's cohort 6. Our classroom opens a few weeks ahead of time because we do release some content and some things for students to work on and kind of explore and get a little bit of a baseline before they hop into our live classes. So classes typically happen on Mondays. It's not all Mondays, but most Mondays over the course of 6 months. And then classes are 3 hours in length. So they run from 10 a.m. Mountain Standard to 1 p.m. So I guess in California, that would be 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And, we go through a wide variety of things. So the program's really broken down into 3 distinct elements. So the first part is really focusing on the care of self, like Sherry has mentioned and Sherry has talked extensively about. So we do focus on that self-care piece, bringing that into your practice. Then we spend some time focusing on, what exactly is holistic nursing and what does that look like? Then we dive into nurse coaching, looking at different modalities, different types of things that you can bring into the coaching model and different methodologies that we have found to be very complementary. And then we also talk about what is spirituality, what is energy healing. We bring in some trauma-informed care again here. And then we'll really focus in on what are complementary I always get this one back. So complementary integrative modalities, and what do those look like? And how do we ensure that when you're using those in your practice, that it actually becomes part of your nursing practice? So we really teach students how to weave them together, to weave it through so that they understand that when they bring these complementary modalities into their practice, that they're actually doing it through a nursing lens, which I think is one of the really important cornerstones of the program. And then we will talk a little bit more extensively about why it is important to write those board certifications and why it is important to really tap into that and further that piece so that we can bring that out and show people the importance of becoming a holistic nurse and nurse coach. I'm trying to think, what am I blanking on here, Kim and Sherry? So I talked about the dates, I talked about kind of what to expect in the classes. Assignments. So we have our beginning assignment really talks about learning how to bring those little elements of self-care into every single moment of your life. So we do a self-care plan. Students will do that twice. So they'll do it once pretty much in the beginning of the program, and then about halfway through they'll resubmit it to just kind of show us like, what does self-care look like to them? The next assignment that we focus on is called Presenting Yourself as a Holistic Nurse and or Nurse Coach. And that's where we really get them to connect with their regulatory bodies and show them the regulatory body. This is what I'm doing. This is how I'm infusing this into my practice. And it really does help them like navigate, like how can you make sure that this is truly nursing work that you're doing, and how you can bring this to the forefront of your practice. And that's a really an important assignment as well if you are wanting to dive into independent practice, because it really helps you be able to articulate to the outside world that you are doing, you're bringing nurse coaching into your own practice, and this is how you're ensuring that you truly are doing this as a nurse. And then we have our practicum hours where students will work with they'll work with 2 dyad partners throughout the course of the program, where we're doing intensive in-class sessions, and then they'll work outside of class time with those dyad partners, and then they are responsible for finding their own pro bono clients. So those are clients who they're working with within their state or province, and they're working with them free of charge as they navigate and learn how to actually bring coaching into their nursing practice. So they're working alongside of those clients, and altogether they accumulate 60 practical coaching hours, which is one of the elements that is required for the board certification exams.
Well done.
Anybody else have anything to add?
I
Kim,
think
yeah.
Janessa
Actually-
covered it very well. The only other thing, and you may have mentioned this, sorry, Janessa, if you have, is just that everything is on online. So it is recorded. So we know that people have different work schedules, especially as nurses. So we work with our students to ensure that they are able to attend as much as they can, but there can be additional kind of worksheets and different things if they do have to miss class, but recordings are available. So again, we have classes on Monday, but don't let that be a hindrance. We work with all of our students to ensure that they're successful, even if they're not able to make it to live classes.
Right.
I think one final thing just on that, Kim, is the importance of, and a lot of students will bring this up as they go through the program and as they finish the program, as they tell us that they didn't realize that it would be such an unlearning of figuring out what school is supposed to look like. So a lot of them come in with a preconceived notion that it's going to be like university. It's going to be stressful. It's going to be hard. We're not going to be accommodating. It's going to be something that, you know, they have to just push through. And I think what they learn and they see is that when they're here, we're really walking alongside them. We're embodying what it means to be holistic, and we're embodying what it looks like to be a holistic nurse coach. We're really helping them get through the program. We're helping them figure out, like, you know, is this assignment due right now? Can we hold off a little bit? So we're very accommodating in a lot of things, and we do really work with them. If there's things that come up, we understand life happens, and we're here to help you navigate what that looks like.
Yeah. In terms of board certification, Anne-Marie, you were asking about the importance of that.
Yes.
So certainly, you know, with completing our program, successfully completing our program, they do receive a certificate from us. And that's really all that the student needs in order to say that they are certified holistic nurse coach. But that extra step of becoming board certified is also very important. We're seeing in terms of being able to have research done on the efficacy of holistic nursing and nurse coaching as well. And it's also that extra step of just, I don't know if I'm using the right word here, but, you know, validating what it is that the student is learning. I guess the same as, you know, you think about going through nursing school. So you do 4 years, you write your exam, you get your diploma from a university. You have the skills and the knowledge and everything to be a registered nurse at that point. But then you also do go off and write another exam in order to be able to practice, right? So it is a little different with us. You don't have to do the board certification in order to practice, but it certainly doesn't hurt. And it, like I said, it's just that extra step to say that, okay, I've done this, you know, this extra step as well, that really shows that I do know my stuff. And it's helpful, like I said, in the research process. And being recognized maybe by insurance companies, because that's something that is a struggle for nurses going out into independent practice. It's interesting because coaching is actually a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's, you know, I think over $24 billion was spent on wellness coaching and lifestyle coaching out of people's pockets last year. But when they hear that you're a nurse, they just automatically assume that, oh, well, you're covered by the government then. And that's not the case. We really would like to see nursing covered within insurance companies at least. So that's something that we're really working towards right now. And so that might be another reason to do the board certification.
Right. Wonderful. Well, I had a nurse that a niece who completed her nursing and works at the Mayo Clinic. This sounds exactly what I'd love her to do as well. And we'll and send her along this wonderful information. Maybe we'll open it up now to the audience so that they can ask their questions. Nicole, do we have a few questions?
Yeah, let's see. So if you have questions, you're welcome to raise your hand and I can give you the ability to speak your question, or you can just type it into the Q&A box and we can answer it that way. But if you have questions in the audience, now is our time. And if not, then and you're watching this recording and questions do come up, you can feel free to email us as well. I did want to put a couple of these links into our chat box and let's see, let you know that you can find more information in this first link for the CIHS comprehensive program that they've been talking about today. And then the second link is going to be direct to the application. So hopefully the information presented here today piqued your interest a little bit more. And if you are a nurse in the audience, we would love for you also to share this with your friends and with your nursing communities. We are really trying to spread the word about this amazing program, and not just to get the word out there, but to support everybody on their journey of mental and spiritual and physical health, right? Because as a collective, when we all embrace these ideas of taking care of ourselves, we ultimately take care of one another. And the women here today really just echo that underlying theme of both the mission of CIHS and the mission of TheCIINDE is to take care of ourselves in a more comprehensive way, so that we are more available to take care of one another and kind of uplift our global community, as well as all the individual communities that we are all a part of.
And Nicole, I'd like to add too, just in case there's any query from those that come along to watch the video afterwards, we are a Canadian institute, but with our accreditation with ANCC, we are actually globally recognized. And of course, with our collaboration with you at CIHS Enlighten, we are, definitely open and welcome to American nurses. And one of the assignments that we have at the end of our program, I believe Janessa talked about it, was the jurisdictional piece. So we have our students contact their regulatory bodies. That's part of their assignment. And that wouldn't look any different for a student that joins us from the US. So just wanted to put that out there. So that what they would do differently is they would just, look within their jurisdiction. So they would get a hold of whoever their regulatory body is or licensing body is in their state.
Yes, I mean, that is an amazing accomplishment to be globally accredited.
Yeah. I mean, holistic nursing and nurse coaching isn't limited to a country, right? Yeah, it's applicable anywhere. So our teachings, and what we're all learning together is definitely applicable everywhere. And the more variety of students we have from around the world, the more we're all going to grow, on a much deeper level, learning from one another. So yeah.
Great. Well, if there's no questions, then we will wrap things up. And thank you all so much for your time. Thank you to Kim and Janessa and Sherry and Anne Marie for being here and sharing so much enlightening information. And thank you to our audience who tuned in, and to those of you that are watching the recording. We will continue to bring you more information about TheCIINDE, and hopefully continuing our collaboration with them. And we will just continue to see where our path leads us. And like I said, the recording will be available and we'll send it out to everybody. And we hope you can get more information about TheCIINDE and check them out and sign up soon.
Thank you so much, Nicole and Anne Marie.
Thank you, Janessa. thank you, and Kim and Sherry, an amazing work that you're doing, and our heartfelt support for it too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.